from getting started to bees in the box, I need you to buy this equipment, so when we tell you how to use it, you have it. That's what we're doing today. Preparation. If you're buying your stuff, please prime your boxes with something like Kills, 1 to 2 coats, and then paint them. It's a very moist environment inside of a hive, and the proper preparation of a box is important. You don't want to be there second year with all your paint peeling off. I don't know how old this box is. Somebody gave it to me. This box is 7 or 8 years old, I think. And you look at it, it's not peeling. I didn't paint that one, by the way, but somebody else did. You need to paint your boxes now. Don't wait till the week before you get your bees and go, oh, I got to go get my boxes painted. I mentioned this in the previous session if you came to our meeting. They need to chemically dry. When you paint something, the outside surface dries, but underneath the outside surface, that paint will continue to release volatile until it's fully chemical dry and turns to substrate. The difficulty is that you can possibly cause your bees to leave if your paint volatiles are coming out and they don't like that smell, and they're extremely sensitive. So tomorrow's a beautiful 80-degree day, paint your boxes. Let me not go past that. You're only painting the outside of the box. This is stupid fundamental, but it's important because it gets messed up sometimes. So I won't leave it to chance. You're only painting the outer surfaces. You're not painting the bottom edges. In fact, if you paint the bottom edges, you're really creating yourself a headache because that bottom edge will stick to the box underneath it. You can't pry them apart with certain types of paints. No paint here, no paint here, no paint on the inside. You're only painting the outsides. You can paint your pieces as pieces like that, or you can assemble your boxes and paint them assembled. A tip that I would tell you, and again, we can give you more information on this, I usually take a paintbrush and I paint the edges here that are difficult to paint with a roller, and I paint the handles, and then I put the paintbrush down and I take a roller and I roll. And you can bust through boxes very quickly. Another tip is if you happen to have assembled your boxes, you can hang them on a pipe and paint this side that's facing you, and then rotate it and paint it. I don't know, dump frames all over it, and rotate it. There's a video out on our YouTube channel. We'll make sure we give you that. But you're only painting the outside edges. Now on the bottom board, you're painting the sides. You're painting the bottom of the bottom board and the back. And you're also going to paint the landing, but only in as far as needs to be covered by the box. You don't have to paint the entire floor of the hive. Is that clear? I could take it apart if anybody is confused with what I just said. Anything that faces the outside. You do not paint this. I don't know why it's white, but don't paint that. Don't need to. And it's really important that you paint this and the bottom, because the water drips and sets there. And if you don't protect this bottom edge, these rot very quickly. So you do want to paint this, and here you do want to paint the bottom edge. Yeah?
Do you think are the metal frame edges important on the inside?
The frame rest?
Frame rest, yeah.
I'll get to that.
Oh, we haven't got
Yeah. In assembly of your boxes, the key thing is, wait, let me check something real quick. No. This box has got screws in it. When they tell you to put together a frame or a box, you want to glue them. Outside glue, tight bond, type 2, not type 1, as an example. So when you pick up the package and read it, it should say exterior grade glue. Elmer's, type bond, doesn't matter, just make sure it's exterior. Take a little paintbrush, like a flux brush that you use, and you paint all three sides, the inside edge, the outside edge, and the bottom here. Okay? Don't worry if you get lots of glue all over the place. That's a good thing. And then fit your boxes together and drive your nail. Make sure you're square. Now I'm going to tell you something, tip. This got manufactured by somebody. That doesn't mean it's good. Sometimes these things get screwed up and you go to dry fit them and they don't fit. Before you glue and nail your boxes once, take your box apart like this and put it all together dry. Fit all the things. Sometimes you need to take a little sandpaper or, clean these off. The milling process is 99% of the time good, but the one time that you paint and do all your stuff and you go to put it together and the thing doesn't fit, you're going to curse yourself. Dry fit them first, then put them together and glue them, okay? Yeah?
Do you recommend buying assembled? Because right now some of the sites
I'll talk about that.
$5 more.
Yep, I'll talk about that. These should come drilled with holes, and you should use the nails that come with them. Buy nails from the manufacturer because they're the right dimension, that they don't crack the wood. So they sell specifically nails to build boxes with at the manufacturer site in the catalog. Buy them. Don't get your own. This box is put together with screws, and I must admit, I use screws and no glue, but that's an aside. You can use screws. Just make sure that you paint them and use a long enough one, equivalent to whatever the nail is. I'm going to switch to frames real quick on assembly. Frames, these are pre-manufactured, so to answer your question, there is no sin whatsoever in buying pre-manufactured. In fact, I do it. I've gotten to the point where I hate to build frames. These are stapled by the manufacturer, but if you're building it, you should use the nails in the right way. The key thing is when you're building them yourself, you want to put a nail, side nail, going this way through the frame. The point is when you get on your hive tool and you try to pry this up, you don't pull the frame apart from the sidebar. So do not forget that and glue these two. But yes, by all means, if you can afford it,
And then hive boxes.
you could buy pre-made frames and pre-made hive boxes. No problem with that.
Yeah, just because like a company like Better Bee are offering for.
Yeah, especially for frames. After you look, there's a rite of passage to sit in your garage and build your frames, but after the first time, you're like, yeah.
Is there a pro or a con to not using paint, using something like a wood stain and a polyurethane on the wood?
On the outside?
Yes.
No, other than longevity. In fact, there's a product that Bob talks about called Eco Wood, which is stupid, simple to use. It's a water-based product that protects your hives. It doesn't give you the same finish as paint, but it's completely suitable, so no. The only thing that I would say to you is when you use oil-based products, urethanes and things like that, they tend to take longer to dry, and you need even more lead time for them to gas out. Latex, well, it depends. So primer and paint needs time to dry. Where to paint, we talked about all those things. The important frame nail, spoke about that. Please glue and nail if that's your bent. The number one thing when you build your frames and you're driving at home is it's really easy to be leaning on the box while you're hammering and doing whatever. And then you get done with the thing and you set it on the floor and it goes like this. It's got a twist or it's oblong. Nay. A square, simple carpenter square is your friend. While you're building your boxes, put them down on a concrete floor and every nail you drive, check the square of them and give them a little twist or tweak, whatever they need. As you're driving them, you can actually self-correct boxes that have some twist to them. But the number one important thing is, look, if you build this box and it has a twist, you're going to have a gap here and bees are coming out, right? And you don't want that. So take a little time to ensure that your boxes are flat to the ground, find a good surface, and don't get out of kilter, okay? Somebody asked me about the frame rest. Let me talk about that. This guy right here sits on the inside of the frame. Right here. And the frame's set on it. It's just 4 nails. And it sits right in here. And it already comes holes, right? And they come with nails, the right nails. Really important. It's a stupid, simple thing, but it protects your box, because you get in there a lot of times with your hive tool and scrape the propolis off in order to get the frames off, and you will damage your boxes. Boxes are a pain to make, so there's what it looks like. Now they have some of them that have little tines that help hold the bees or the frames in place. I think one of these boxes has that. I don't recommend that. I would recommend you get the flat one. That's why I brought this. See the tines? It's supposed to help you space the frames. No me gusta, I don't like. Here, you can hand these around so everybody can look. They tend to be really difficult sometimes to move. I want to pull a frame out and make space and slide frames over so I have room to work. Those things take that away from you. For that reason alone, I'm a no good on that. Consider purchasing frames assembled. There is something called a frame jig, which you might want to look at. We could give you that information. All right, rolling through. We live in bear territory. You might want a bear fence, right? If you've seen a bear on your property, it's inevitable they're coming to get you. You should be thinking that way. Ratchet straps and a weight. Obviously, and this is just not terribly difficult to say. Somewhere in here there's a red ratchet strap, if you would. A brick, cement block, something like that on top, perfectly fine. You don't want a full cinder block. It's going to distort your hive. It puts too much weight on top, right? Something like a patio block. If he finds it, that's good. If not, there's a red ratchet strap that I have. You should take the extra security to ratchet your hive, okay? I think this is the last topic.
Around the base, like just
Around the whole thing, right around the roof and the bottom, everything.
Like ratcheting it to the base, like if you have it on a board,
You put it under the bottom board,
under the table.
all the way around the entire hive. And if you're on a base, maybe you attach it to the base too. Like I have a hive stand that I make out of PVC. I go around that too. But just literally around the entire stack, roof and all, strap the whole thing down.
You don't think the bear's gonna just try to beat up the box?
The thing with a ratchet strap is, if you don't have a fence and the bear does get in, there are people who report that the bear gets frustrated with the thing being ratcheted really well, and sometimes they give up. Now you're going to come out and you're going to find your hive knocked over and it's going to be ratcheted and whatever. You have till tomorrow to get it fixed before they come back, but at least they didn't destroy your stuff. If they knocked it over and they got it apart, they're going to rip and tear and shred the whole thing. So there are many reports that the hive strap actually saved the hive from being, the bear couldn't get it. Could a bear tear through it? Absolutely. I'm not saying, wait, let me make this clear. They're not connected. A bear fence protects from a bear. A ratchet strap is the right thing to do all the time, whether you're in bear territory or not. Because if you get a big wind, or I've had deer come over and rub against my hive and knock them over, right? So a lot of things happen. A strap is a good idea.
Can I ask you one more thing about the ratchet strap? Is
Yeah.
it okay to ratchet in both directions? Because I had a ratchet strap around one way, and something came and knocked the lid off, got snow in, like these.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, and you know, they have ones like this that have the literal ratchet, and they have ones that have tension ones. I use the tension ones because I find them easier to take on and off. I hate this thing. But, and sometimes when you get to stack high enough, you need 2 of them in succession. Have you picked out, how many have picked out where their hives are going? Okay, good. Look, they recommend full sun. We'll tell you why later, but it has to do with pests. Pests don't survive well, hive beetles and things, in full sun, because the hive is really hot, which is good for the bees, but not for them. You obviously want wind protection, should be dry and high. You want to be able to get into it with a cart, or better yet, a vehicle. You don't want a wet spot, okay? So you need to have water for your bees. A natural water source is all the better. It's obviously you don't want it near living things, and by living things I mean both people, dogs, cats, goats,
Horses?
bears, chickens, horses, anything. Will they disturb them? Generally not, but why risk it, right? Keep them out of sight from people. You don't want theft, and you don't want to cause undue alarm for anybody who might wig out. It has to get the morning sun. That's the wake-up call, like an alarm. Yeah?
What about things like riding mowers and yard work,
Yep.
sounds?
Yeah. Give me 1 second on that one. When you lived at your place long enough, you know where the last place is that the snow melts, so it's not where to put your hives. Even though it's the perfect location from an aesthetic standpoint, don't go there. You want it to be dry and not the last cold, wet place, okay? If you're in flood prone, I think I don't need to tell you not to put them there. Do not underestimate some circumstance that's going to require you to move your hive someday. You can't just go, oh, I'm going to move them over there for whatever, right? You usually have to figure out how you're going to move them. So think through this really hard before you finalize your place. The last thing is, don't put them next to your driveway or your garage, because they fly out and they do what we all do. They poop all over the place. And when they poop on your car, you're going to curse yourself. Okay? Choose level ground, or at least something that's manageable. Okay? If you have a really steep hill, I know that sometimes that's what people want because they could make use of it, but it becomes a problem. Get the hive up off the ground on a hive stand or on blocks. Okay? They have to be off the ground. They can't be down in the wet dew.
How high?
Usually what you do is you get them this high so that when you're working them, you're not bent over.
Okay.
Cinder block high is usually what a lot of people do. I go a little higher than that. They must face the morning sun. That's the wake-up call.
The front? Yeah.
Front of it should face, you look where the sun comes up over there, it should be facing that way. Now the sun comes up in different places, pick the middle, okay? I recommend that you separate your hives so that you could work around them and you're not banging others. Now if I have two hives on a rail, meaning two 4x4 posts, and I'm working on this one and I've jostled the other one and they come to alarm, I'm going to possibly get stung. If I have nothing to do with that hive, then why would I do that? Put it on its own stand if you can. If you are putting them all on a single stand, then smoke every one of them and then work this one. Okay? One of the reasons you want to separate them is get them far enough apart so you could drive your lawn through. Okay? Or weed whack between them and work on this one and not disturb the one over there. These are all preferences, right?
Kevin, how far apart would you recommend? 4 foot?
Mine are far enough that I could drive the lawn tractor through. That's the literal rule. And I do drive the lawn tractor through. And 99% of the time, coming back to your question, you could mow right past them. And if they're on forage or doing whatever, they don't bother you. Every once in a while, though, that vibration makes them mad and they'll come to alarm. So if you are mowing, wear a suit. Okay? If you're weed whacking, you can almost always get around the side, the back, and the side. But when you get to the front and you start cutting grass, that smell of cut grass and the grass flying disturbs the bees, and it upsets them sometimes. So wear a suit when you're doing that stuff.
You're talking like right around it. What if you're like 3-4 feet.
Again, it's your, I have gone out many times last summer and just mowed my entire yard.
But I have someone else coming in to mow. I don't
Yeah.
want them mowing 4 feet away from me, getting stung.
Yeah, my suggestion would be, this is a hard one to answer, right, because there's a liability. You should take care of your own yard would be my recommendation. If you want to make sure that somebody's not getting stung, or give them a bee suit, right? But the other thing is, while you're driving and you have your hands on, your hands are exposed, they're going to sting your hands too, right? I don't know, anybody want to offer any?
Yeah, it really depends on the time of year. Okay, in the beginning of the year, when there's a lot of food around and the bees are out collecting nectar and pollen, they're usually in a pretty good mood and they won't bother you. But when you get into the middle of the summer and into the fall, where there's not a lot of food around and they're very protective of what they have, you'll see that they're different. Your really nice, friendly bees that you had in the spring are now kamikazes and they're coming after you.
Yeah.
So, depends on the time of year.
Is there any harm in just letting the grass grow in a certain area around them?
Let me tell you what I also do. I go out with clippers, hand clippers, and I clip the grass in front of the hive, and then I mow areas around. I mean, there's ways to do this without
Yeah, I'm
disturbing
trying to
them.
think, what's a safe distance around it where
They're-
dogs, kids,
this is
or is
you
like-
know,
I know it's a liability question, but just like,
Yeah.
if you were to put it in a spot, like, what's that distance?
usually like from me to the back of the room, they're not going to bother you when you get that far away. But again, like I said, sometimes those guards are patrolling that area and you're going to get whacked.
Anytime you're in front of the hive, you're asking for it.
You're in their flight
You're in
paths.
their flight path.
That's what that
You want to
means.
stay away from the front of
Yeah.
the hive as much as you can.
Let me get her
You gotta
first.
go there to mow and to weed whack, but, you know, it really.
Ida, can you make a note and we'll
6
have to
feet
go
in
look
front of
more
the
on
hive.
this topic.
And it depends on the time of year and the bees. There's no, there's no answer.
This is another way to mitigate it. I went to Home Depot and bought carpet, like front of the house, wipe your feet carpet, and I put it underneath my hive stands. I put that material underneath and the grass can't grow through the rubber. So that area, I don't have grass problems. And then on its fringe, I can do it. So that's another thing. But you can gravel your yard and do all those other things. She yelled at me, but I was going to take this old carpet and put it out in the hole, like a house carpet, but that was a little too extreme. I had a question.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna comment on the guy that has somebody coming in. I had the same thing, I called him up, I was worried about it, he comes out every year. I was like, hey man, by the way, I'm getting bees. He goes, oh, I got 3 or 4 other customers that have it, so a lot of times it's common around, and
Yeah.
they're used to it, they're not, he wasn't worried at all.
Yeah, have a discussion with them and see what they do. You had a question earlier? Probably forgot it.
No, I had asked if there's any harm in just letting the grass grow.
Yeah, no,
I was gonna plant,
no
maybe
harm in
do
that.
bee forage and maybe
Yeah.
flowers and stuff around that area.
Okay. You all don't look like you're fidgeting, even though it's closing in on 1 o'clock. So this is where there's not a lot of discussion. This is me just telling you what's going to happen next. Okay. The annual plan. We'll give you something like this. Do this activity. These aren't real, by the way. I made these up, so don't write them down, right? But this is a sample, right? Do this, do that, do this, do that. We'll give you a list. It'll be a guide. This guide will literally change as the year goes in case we need to adjust accordingly depending on what happens. Along with this will be what we want you to do or what you should be doing practically. Like, we want you to install your bees. Then the logical thing is you have to go make sure your queen got out. Then the logical thing is you have to go make sure that your hive is building out. And then once the hive fills the box, you need to put another box on top, right? We'll give you the guidelines of when these things should be occurring. That way you're going, well, I should be seeing this and I am or I'm not, right? And everybody's experience will be different, but we'll have a basic, this is what you should see. And we're also going to give you a secondary thing about taking care of varroa mite, which will be a big topic for us, okay? We want you to get very zen with this. You have to keep notes. you're never going to remember what you did. And when we come back and ask you what's going on, we don't want you thinking, well, I kind of didn't. Please, keep a journal. I don't care how you do it. We want you, and we will tell you, take the date, time, temperature, things that are going on. What did you go out there for? What did you do? And what happened while you were there? Fundamental, not hard to do. We have forms too that we can give you that you could use, or you can make up your own. Doesn't matter. I know people who, I brought one, but it doesn't matter, a book, right? That you just have the book that you use to go out, and you got to name your hives so you know which one you're talking about. We got a to-do list for you guys and for us, okay? This is what we want you to do. We're going to give you a step-by-step instruction on how to do different things, but I have a homework assignment. I don't know if you saw the email that Ida sent. This was attached to it. Between now and the next couple times that we get together, I would love for you to read this. I don't care if you skip chapters and don't find interest in some things and others, but ideally what I would love you to do too is also look at the glossary, because we don't want to lose you with terminology. We're going to have to use the word pheromone and things eventually, and it would be nice if you had at least had one experience with it. This guide was given to beekeepers when they take a beginner's beekeeper course. Covers a lot of information, and when we start to get into different topics, it'd be great if you had a foundation on it, okay? We'll send you a list for your kit, make sure that you have them, and we'll send you annual plan template. That's us to build together, right? Somewhere down the road, we'll get together literally with each one of you. We'll break up into groups, and we'll build your annual plan. Some of you have hives already, right? So we can't give you a beginner's plan because that's not going to work. So download and get acquainted with this thing. It's available on our website. And get your equipment and site set up ready for bees. That's obvious, okay? I don't know if you want me to take time. Let me just skip through something. Yeah, that's it. I brought this. I could take 2 minutes to talk about this. I want you to see it, and also we'll give you a resource. A lot of you are getting packages, so I want you to know how this works. I'll change one thing real quick. Come on, cooperate with me. I'm not going to fuss with it. This is a cage. No, it's just, this one was a, pardon my French, a bitch to get out because the can is warped. Okay. See the holes in the can? This is filled with corn syrup, and it feeds the bees. The holes are punched, and when it sits upside down, the vacuum creates it from leaking out, but the bees can come and get food. When you buy this, this is down inside like you saw it before. Just pretend that it's down in there like this. And you see that thing, that little wooden box? That's a queen cage, that thing flopping around in there. What they do is they take bees, literally with a funnel, and they dump 3 pounds of them in this box, and then they take the queen in that cage with a couple of attendants, and they put her in, and they staple it to the top. They put the can of food in, and they put a cover over it. And this is how you receive your bees, right in a box like this. When you're going to take this and put it in your hive, you look at your bees and you look at the floor. If half the bees are dead, that package did not get transported properly. That's the difference between somebody like Stan, who brings packages up every year and knows the drill, and somebody who's a newbie and doesn't handle the bees right, and they're on the back of the trailer and they're getting wind and it kills half the bees in your package, and your 3-pound package that you paid for is 1.5 pounds of bees. It's literally the weight of the bees, by the way. Okay, so you're going to look at your package, and if everything's okay, you're going to pry this little wooden thing off and set that aside. You're going to fish the can out. Now, when you fish the can out, what happens? Bees are going to come out. Most of the bees stay inside the package, but some come out and fly around. That's okay. You're going to pull the can out, forgive me, I don't have a hive tool, so I'm just going to pull it out. You're going to pull out your queen cage. She's going to be encased with bees. You're going to flick or blow off the bees and look and see if your queen's alive running around in there. And then you're going to take your queen and you're going to put her in your pocket or someplace warm, safe. Now, these bees are going to fly all over the place. When I don't want them to fly all over the place, I have a technique that I can use before I even open the package, which is take a spray bottle with sugar water and spray them. Before I take the can out and everything, I'm spraying them. You'll want to do it just before you start though, because if it's cool, you're going to chill the bees. But when they're wet, they don't fly well and they groom themselves and they won't go up in the air. So the procedure is spray the bees, take the top off, pull the can out, set it aside, take your queen out, make sure she's good, put her in your pocket. Then you're going to take this package, maybe spray them one more time, and you're going to take it and you're going to dump it in the hive. And when I say dump, I mean like this, dump it, right? And all the bees are going to come out. You're going to say, boy, isn't that hard on the bees? They're fine. We've done it for this 50 years or more that way. So they're going to be okay. There's other methods to install where you don't do that. We're telling you to dump. If somebody says, put the package in the hive, take the queen out, and let the bees come out on their own. That's great until 5 days later when you come back and the bees are still in the box and you go, what am I doing, right? So if you dump them out, guess what? They're in there, okay? So this thing that I just explained to you, you're going to literally see us do that if you come to the meeting out in the field. We have packages and we'll show you the physical. In fact, somebody here is going to install it. We don't do it because we do it all the time. We'll show you how to do it.
We should be bringing a bee suit to that.
You should bring a bee suit.
Did you put the
Yes, you should.
queen in first and then the bees?
Yeah. I didn't want to get too crazy about it. I wanted to tell you about the dump thing. That's really what I wanted to show you. We'll show you how to set the queen in and fasten her to a frame and what position and all that stuff. There's more to it. Yeah. If you go to our website, you know, this is, forgive me, I'm only going to say this one time. If you go to our website, you'll see a video on all this stuff. What we're going to do for the Managed Mentoring page is create a list of the activities in the order that we'll perform them, and we'll put the link. And we'll not say to you, go to the YouTube channel and look for. You're going to go to this page and the video is going to be there in line with what we're doing from this to this, okay? So we're over time, way over, but I hope this was useful. And I don't know if you had questions that we didn't answer today about how to get things going to the point where you're ready to put bees in the box. Feel free, ask whatever you want.